The next task is mounting the main Playfield, or the main monitor, inside the cabinet. To do that, we mount the TV on a piece of plywood. It's cut with various notches and guides to allow for the plunger and the flipper, so it won't bump into them. It's going to be mounted the same way as traditional pinball, which is on brackets. It allows the Playfield, or the monitor, to actually completely come out if I ever have to get in there and make repairs. So the first step is to cut sort of notches and to cut this to size. I'm using the online guide that was created. I'll link to it in the bottom. It's pretty much the go-to guide that everyone uses. And so we're going to start marking up the board and making some cuts. So I've cut the sheet to the final size, and then I've made the markings. It'll be clear what these are for as I progress, but they allow room for the flipper buttons, the plunger, and on the back, different areas that need to be just notched out. So I'm going to be making these cuts by hand. Okay, so this is the playing field. This is the ledge that the monitor is going to sit on. I've made the cutouts. I did go over this with an orbital sander. You're obviously not going to see it, but I'm going to be handling it a lot, so I just want to take off, obviously the rough edges. So we're on to the next step. So the next step is measuring the combined height of the television and the ledge. So I'm going to put the ledge, I put the TV upside down on a table, and I'm going to put the ledge on top of it and measure the height. So I've laid the ledge on top of the back, and I've measured the top. Even though I live in America, I'm going to use millimeters, so we're about a combined height of 85 millimeters. I'm going to use this measurement when I get out to the cabinet and start measuring where it's going to end up. So 85 is my measurement. Before I get on the next step, I just wanted to quickly jump in with something. Obviously, I'm going to have to make some cutouts in this wood to allow cables to run into the back of the TV. There's the HDMI video cables go on the back there, and then the power over here. I also obviously have the VESA mounts. There's 4 screws that have to go through the wood. The actual cuts, they won't happen just yet, because the position of the TV, I have to set that up inside the cabinet before I know where the things go. So it's just a consideration that I have to cut into this cutouts for the cables. So I'm back out here in the garage. I'm going to be measuring the cabinet. I did want to show you what I'm using. I don't want you to think that I know what I'm doing. I'm really following an expert guide that was written by someone, and it basically walks you through the process. Before I did the measuring of the thing, and then it talks you, where to put tape on the inside. Step 3, adding some stops, measuring the length, cutting the wood. Remember those grooves that I did. So I'm following this basically to the letter for this part, because he's using a standard body. I'm building a standard body. A lot of people do custom, but this is a standard body, so I can follow these directions. I'm hoping they work out. I don't see why not. But so, as I said, I'll put a link to this, but this is what I'm doing. I'm simply going through these steps one by one. So one of the things that makes this tricky, obviously, is that, my TV playing field is going to be on an incline. It's about 6 degrees, 6.5 degrees, which is like a traditional pinball machine. Making these measurements, I realized that I actually have to do it on the other side as well. So they have to be quite precise. My TV monitor is 20.5 inches. The width is in this cabinet is like 20.5 inches and a little bit. There's not a lot of room to play, so I have to be super accurate. I'm gonna have to measure I measure multiple times. I won't drill or screw until it's tested and working out perfectly. But I've marked the lines here. This is, it was 2 inches plus the depth of the TV up here, and at the top is 4 inches plus the 85 millimeters. I'm going backwards and forwards between inches and millimeters. So this is my line. I'm going to use painter's tape to draw the line. and we'll see how that goes. So at the front of the cabinet where the ledge lies on, you have to install a couple of what he calls them stops, or front stops. They're going to be screwed in eventually, but I'm going to tape them now as part of sort of the testing thing, just to make sure I've got everything working. So, and this is going to be back behind those cutouts that I made, so I need to measure that. I'm just going to tape this in. So that's the block just mounted, obviously just with tape. I'm going to do it in the back as well. It's not going to be here. This is where the bracket goes, but for just positioning, testing to make sure I'm happy with the incline, I'm just going to put these blocks temporarily here. And obviously when I'm doing it on the other side, make sure everything's level. So I got my 4 ledges in, but it's hard trying to match everything because it's got to be literally perfect. So trial and error, I guess. As I said, the 2 in the back, they're just temporary, and these will be screwed in. I could also always put one screw in and rotate it and turn it if I need to. But these are going to be glued in at some point, so they've got to be right. So I'm going to drop the tray in and have a look. So I dropped the ledge in. I had to put some more tape here because obviously it wasn't going to hold. I think it looks okay. I've got to permanently mount the front stops. So if I mess up, it just means unscrewing it. I'm not going to glue yet. I think I'll just test with the screws. But so what's going to happen is the TV is going to sit on this, and there's going to be brackets at the back that's going to allow me to tip up the Playfield and actually lift it out if I even need to bring it out. So it's not actually secured in there permanently. It's on some little latches, which I'll get to in a couple of minutes. So it's a good little incline. I can't measure the incline, but I just used the 2-inch difference between the top and the bottom, and I'm going to go with that. I'll quickly mention the notches that I made in the wood. Here's the plunger. You can see it's gonna, that's why it's cut out there. Got the 2 holes there for the different flippers on both sides. They obviously come in through here, and there's wiring and stuff. On the back, I'm not sure. I think that because you create sort of a ledge where I'm going to have an LED or LED strips. So that's at the back. It's going to move forward a little bit. So I just wanted to let you know that's why those little things are cut out the way they are. So I'm going to temporarily screw these brackets on. I hope I've measured right. It's quite important, really. Okay, and there. So this is just temporary. So I wanted to go through how the hinge works for mounting the playing field. I want you to imagine this is the side of the cabinet, and that this is the ledge, that the TV is going to sit on. So I ordered these. These are actually proper pinball hinges. What happens is there's a carriage bolt. This carriage bolt is too small. It's 1 1/4 inch. It should be 1 3/4. So I messed up. I have to reorder this. Basically, this comes in through the side of the cabinet. There's going to be a washer, and then this is what's called a pivot nut. Screws onto there, and then we've got a regular hex nut, and again it's going to be, I got to reorder this. And then this hinge here sits into it. So if you imagine that this is mounted to it, this comes in, it just sits in, pivots, tilts up, take out completely if I need to. So that's what I'm working on, but I've got to order the correct part. It's frustrating me, but it's all right. I'm just installing these brackets temporarily. I'm using a wood screw. When I'm happy with the sizing of everything, it's actually going to need bolts coming up, and nuts and bolts to affix this. So but for the meantime, I'm just drilling a single hole just a single hole. And then using a very small screw just to hold this in place. That's it. So that's flush with the side. Everything's measured, so I've now got to test it. So I've made the markings inside the cabinet. You can see where that hole is. You're supposed to obviously drill all the way through. I'm a little bit nervous, just the way that I've measured this. It makes, you know, obviously if you go through the other side, it's an issue if you mess it up. So I'm going to see if I can put a screw, some sort of screw in, not go all the way through, really just to, I don't know, give me some peace of mind that this is actually going to work before I actually drill right through and put the carriage bolt in. I'm going to use just a drywall screw. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try it. I just don't want to go through the other side. All right, I've dropped it in. It's okay. It's certainly not perfect. I need to tweak it. You can see a bit of... So obviously I need some attention, but I mean the mechanism works. It works well. I'm happy with that. Really happy with that. There's enough room. I'm just using screws in there for right now. Up and down. So it might be I need just to raise one of these stops to stop that. It's a fraction of an inch. So I think I'm prepared to drill on the sides. Again, it works going up and down, so I'm okay with that. Ready to drill? So I'm calling this a night. I adjusted a couple of the front stops just a little bit. I've still got some movement, which, you know, I found this was a challenge. You've got to try and get the angles right, get the position of each pivot bolt correct, and it's got to be perfect. And I strive for really good, but I'm going to give myself a solid B+. The blue tape that I put on there, I should have put on first because I scratched a couple times going in, which frustrates me. But I assume that I'm going to go back through and touch this up when I'm done. But, you know, it's just this little vibration. I might put some padding on the front stops just to absorb some of that fraction of an inch where it's off. But, you know, it does work. I mean, the beauty of the thing is it does work. I can tilt it completely back up. It can rest there. So you can allow us to work on the inside and then lowers down. I'm going to say perfectly, but nothing's perfect. So B+, I got a couple more things to do. Got to cut out the cutouts for the electrical. Got to put the TV, the position of where this sits. I need to actually physically bring out the TV and play with where that's going to be. Once that's set, cut out the areas for the control, for the cables, and then mount the TV to this piece of wood. And then we'll be on to the next step.